to A Well-Designed Business. My name is Luann Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. I am super happy to tell you that today we're kicking off a brand new series for 2024. It is called Overheard. It's a monthly series where I will gather 3 to 4 industry colleagues to kick a topic around. And in some cases, we might select a single question within that topic so that we can go super deep. I'm calling it Overheard because my goal is that these episodes should feel like you just walked by a table of industry peers and you thought to yourself, boy, I wish I could hear that conversation, right? And now you can. Isn't that great? So today I'm joined by 4 amazing businesswomen, each of whom I've had the pleasure and the honor of working with at an in-depth level at some point over the last several years. First, I have my cousin Eileen Hahn, a leadership consultant. She has worked with huge brands like General Motors and the Texas Rangers, as well as more than 50 interior design and window treatment firms. We also have her consulting partner, Jennifer Tokatyan, with us. Together, they teach interior designers how to hire, lead, and maintain exceptional teams. I also have Traci Connell with us, an award-winning interior designer who also has her own well-renowned membership community, The Gloss for Interior Designers. And last but in no way least, I have Anastasia Harrison with us. She is also an award-winning designer and trained architect. She is also the founder of AHD Trade, which is a trade-to-the-trade showroom located in New Jersey. Now, this idea, as far as this topic for hiring and team management, came up because on the feedback forms for Luann Live, when we said, what would you like to see more of the next time, this particular topic, hiring and team management, kept coming up over and over. So this episode is exactly that. Traci and Anastasia share their challenges and journey with hiring the right team members to help their businesses sing along. They happen to do this with the help of Eileen and Jennifer. So to have all 4 of these ladies here together is particularly exciting and insightful, right? Now, before we get to this episode, Luann University classes kick off next week, and 2 of the fabulous ladies that are with us today are also Luann University instructors, so you don't want to miss their courses. Jennifer is a new instructor joining us this semester with a brand new course called Build an Exceptional Team That Gets Results. She will share with you the right tools, templates, practical steps to effectively lead your team, as well as deep, profound insights into your own leadership style and how it impacts others. So whether you have a team, you are seeking to build a team, or you are leading a group of subcontractors, in any case, this course is for you if you want to have more confidence in leading that team so that your business can feel more like you want it to feel, right? And then we have Traci Connell, who has her 3-hour intensive that's been part of the university for a few years now, Buy Wholesale for Profit, where she will help you learn to scale your business by creating a revenue model of selling furnishings that increases your net profit. Join Traci as she cuts the industry fluff and reveals her proven formula to go from design consulting firm, buying at designer pricing, to trusted furniture reseller, earning larger margins from product sales. To sign up for Luann University, go to luannuniversity.com, and keep in mind this year we are running 1 semester only, so this is your chance to get in on it. And then one more thing before we get to the show, I want to tell you that next month, the second show in this series will feature Erica Ward, Jennifer Stoner, Alex Alonso and Kate O'Hara. These design veterans are discussing the hard lessons that they have faced, the things that they wish they knew when they had started out, and they are sharing their heartfelt advice for you to learn, to use, and to help you through some of the tougher things that you will likely also face along the way. All right, so without further ado, let's get the show started. Alrighty, I am so super excited for this new format and this experience of being able to have multiple smart ladies and in the future smart guys too, all in one room to pick apart a topic. And the idea is from the different areas of expertise and the different perspectives. So today we are talking about hiring, on building your team, on best practices, on what you need to know as a CEO to do it well and do it effectively, because there's a huge, huge difference between doing it and doing it well. And I can tell you in my 4 decades in business, I've done it both ways, wrong and right. And there's no going back to right once you've experienced it. But you do need to learn it just like any other skill set. And I've got some ladies here that are experts in guiding us through this process. And then some ladies here that have been through the process and, like me, the before and the after of how much more effective and enjoyable it is when you do it the right way. So today what I'm going to do is going to ask each of you to just say hello, give your little 5-minute, elevator pitch on who you are and what you do. So Eileen Hahn joining me, tell us a little bit about who you are.
Hi, I'm a leadership consultant. I've been working with organizations for 25 years, both all different types and industries, Fortune 500, also over 50 different interior design firms, which has been so fun and exciting and delightful for me. And basically, I'd like to really help organizations grow, flourish, thrive, be efficient, effective, profitable, and also be joyful, because we all have an opportunity to really live and work in joy. And that is my mission, to help others.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. I love it. And Jennifer, please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. Yeah, my name is Jennifer Tokatyan. I am also a leadership consultant and a consulting partner with Eileen. And Eileen and I have known each other since 2001, so many years. And she's like a soul sister. I focus on helping organizations thrive and the people within them thrive. What really makes me tick is wanting everyone to flourish and creating environments for people to flourish and bringing in people into organizations that are really aligned with their values and their own mission, and helping leaders create great teams. So that's a bit of like what makes me really focus on what I do. And yeah, I guess that's it for now.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. And Traci Connell is with me. Hello, Traci. How are you, sweetie?
Hello. I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here. So I'm Traci Connell. I'm out of Dallas, Texas, and I have owned an interior design firm for almost 25 years, and I have a team of 8. We specialize mostly in high-end residential design, and decided that wasn't enough for me. So I created a membership community for interior designers. So it's all focused on the business side. So I teach interior designers to take the guesswork out of creating highly profitable and predictable businesses so they can reclaim their time and freedom. So boom. So that is called the Gloss for Interior Designers. And I am loving that as well.
Love it. Love it. Love it. And Anastasia Harrison, tell us a little bit about you.
Hi, I'm Anastasia Harrison of AHD & Co. I'm an architect and an interior designer. We run a dual firm. I've been doing this business, you don't even want to say, right? Like 30 years I've been in this business. I started in commercial and hospitality, and now I've transitioned into luxury residential and hospitality work. Similar to Traci, I wasn't satisfied with just one business. Why not have 2, right? So I started AHD Trade, which is a to-the-trade showroom and procurement services for smaller designers that are really looking to up-level their business. So along with helping them buy products, we're also performing a service that helps them get through that really tough transition time of when do I need to hire? Which we're going to be talking about.
Love that. Love it. Love it. Love it. So, and I don't know, did you say that you're from Jersey? You're a Jersey girl? Because I mean, that's the most critical part of your resume. Just going to
Jersey
say.
girl, born and
Jersey
raised.
girl, come on. So I'm going to start this off with how you and I met, Anastasia. So we were in High Point at a Monogram event, and we were sat next to each other at this little shishi event here. And we had such a good, fun conversation that night, right at the table. And a week or two after that, you reached out to me and said, I'm interested in your coaching services. What does that look like? How does that work? And we get on the phone and I ask everybody, tell me more about that. Because at dinner, I was exactly like, what's your gross revenue, right? Like, it's like, sometimes I rein it in a little. And I probably did ask you at dinner if I know me. But anyway,
You did.
yeah, right. So it's like, we run through that. And then I'm like, what I usually do is like, why me? Why did you come to me? What do you want to achieve in the period of time that we might work together? And you said to me specifically at that time, and this is going back to 2019, specifically at that time, I want to grow my business from 1 point, whatever it was, to 3 million. And I want you to help me with marketing. And so I said, okay, so what's happening in the business now? And as we talked, you think you're talking to me about where your gaps in marketing is. And I keep hearing the gaps in the people. I keep hearing the gaps in the support on your team. I keep hearing the gaps in the up-levelness that you would need to be at $3 million and manage that. And I ultimately said to you, Anastasia, you don't need somebody to up-level your marketing. You need somebody to up-level your team. And typical Jersey style, you said, no, that's not what I need. And I'm like, but it is. And you're like, no, that's fine. I will take care of that. I know I need to address that, but I will take care of that after you help me grow to 3 million. And I said to you, that's not going to happen, because if we grow your business to 3 million, we're going to break it. We're going to break it. Like, you're going to ruin your reputation. You're not going to be able to follow through on the things that you do. And I also said to you, if you work with my cousin, Eileen Hahn, and you get your butts in the right seats, and you get that whole thing organized, I said, I believe you'll sail right to 3 million. And I love you and I love the Jersey, because you were like, that's not really what I want to do. So just tell me how much it is to work with you. And the thing is, I just know from all the years of myself working with Eileen that was the gap. And I also could tell from both our conversations, the first one at High Point and that one on the phone, that you are an entrepreneur who has her head on, that you had, this isn't like, oh, I'd like to someday be at 3 million. I knew you could go. I knew you could do it, but I knew that the journey would be so much easier and so much more streamlined and feel so much more enjoyable if you were supported in the right way with the right eyeballs around you. And so ultimately I was like, I'm not going to work with you. I want you to call Eileen. And even if you don't work with her, don't call me back unless it's for dinner. We're not doing this.
And we have had dinner.
Yes. So then take us to that next step. Like, you call, like, either you can go anywhere, like Luann's a lunatic, but I had to do this, or I called Eileen, go anywhere you want with it.
Yeah. So I was in a position where I had a couple of team members didn't understand my mission, vision, and values for where I wanted the company to go, right? I had a very clear understanding of where it could go. That was the year I made $11,000, right? 1 point something million dollar business, and I made no money. And so there was also a very strong friendship with that person. So there was a very big challenge on how I was going to separate myself from that relationship in a loving and kind way that allowed that separation to happen and allowed me to continue to grow. I am a licensed architect and an interior designer, so I think about things in a very sort of structural way. I think about the bottom, I think about the middle, I think about the top. And then I have that Jersey in me where, you just have to take care of everybody. You just got to make sure everybody's happy, everybody's fed, everybody's got their coffee. Like, is everybody good? And meanwhile, I'm like a chicken without a head. So I called Eileen I had no idea. I don't know what kind of voodoo you were trying to sell me, but I was like, all right. If and of course it's your cousin, so
Right.
it's not even like, oh, call this consultant. It's call my cousin. Like it's kind of a Jersey thing.
And
No,
I'm from
I got the
Jersey.
Mini.
I got the
Everybody in Jersey's got a cousin. She's from Jersey, right? Everybody in Jersey's got a cousin who can help you with this, to do the thing.
right. So I called Eileen, and I think we had a wonderful first 5 minutes. It was the first time I felt like I was in a supported space. So many times we're in our own business and we have these challenges, whether it's, the sofa didn't get there or your best employee just decided to have a freak out. You're never supported, right? You're always the one supporting or trying to push forward the train to keep it moving. And this was the first time in my career as a business owner that somebody just said to breathe. We got this. We can hit. This is not a problem. And if you've heard Eileen speak, nothing's ever a problem. It's all good. It's all from
Sprinkle
choice.
a little love on it. It'll all be fine.
Sprinkles of joy, right? So she really let me know that I had to take hold of the positions I needed and understand what each role was before I had the people, right? Because I had people in seats, but they weren't necessarily in the right ones. So 2 things. One, how do you put the people you have in the seats that they belong? And then, do they want to be in that seat? Because if they don't, it's time to get off the bus.
Right.
So I had to do that. I had to get people off the bus. And thank God I had Eileen to help me get them there, because that was not fun.
No,
That was
that's
really-
the thing, right?
Yeah.
Eileen, I love the way she described it. It's like you have to know what the roles are. And then you look at your people, and sometimes it's that hard look like, oh, you don't fit in any of these roles. And I love you. You've been with me for years, or you fit in another role. Are you open to moving? So walk
Right.
us through that little dynamic there and how hard that is as the business owner, but you as the consultant, you see it so clearly. You've done it with me 1,000 times. You're like, Lil.
Yeah, one of the things that's so beautiful that I've been able to work with and observe over all these years is that everybody wants to be happy in a job that they enjoy, that they're good at, right? And the employers all want employees that are happy and effective and productive. The employees want to be, but many times they're in the wrong place. And so I think we really started with, and because I've seen this in other organizations, it's like this happens all the time. We're going to step back. We're going to say, what are your goals, Anastasia? What's your vision for your firm? Okay, based on that, what positions do we need to execute to those goals and that vision? And then let's look at and let's define those positions. Let's actually create job descriptions so there's real clarity. Do we really need 4 positions or 5 or 8 or 10? What are they and what do they do? And you know what I mean? To make sure that they don't overlap or are redundant or like, so we start with all that first. And to me, that's kind of delightful and fun. Like your architecture starting with kind of the structure, right? It's delightful and fun to create that. And we spent a lot of time on that, kind of the vision, the goals, you have the values in there. Then you have the positions and the structure. And then you say, let's look at the team members we have. And we look at their skills and their desires. We also we utilize a predictive index to look at what's their profile, what's their natural style. Do we have someone that, loves doing detail-oriented work in a job where they're doing that, or where they're just customer facing all the time and it's frightening for them? And so people have different natural skills and inclinations that the predictive index can bring into light. So now we're seeing what are their skills, what are their natural interests, what's their passion if they have it, and then where do they fit? And then once we just decide that, sometimes people fit in, sometimes they don't. We talk about that. And to me, like transition is never a negative thing. Like someone leaving, being terminated, whatever it is, it's like you have an opportunity to go to some place where you will love what you do and they will appreciate you. Wow. And you will thrive and you will prosper. And it's not here. Right? Or it is here. It is here. You know what I mean? And it's going to be great because I know you have the skill to do this.
It's going to be great. Down the block.
No, because it goes both ways, right? Sometimes we're like letting people know that we believe you can do this role. We know you have those skills and talents and that you can be successful here. Sometimes this isn't the right place for you. And sometimes it's really coming to them and saying, this is the type of firm that I want to have. And it's a firm where people show up excited to work every day. It's a firm where people work collaboratively to help and assist each other. It's a firm of excellence because I like to be a top 10% or excellent person. That's what I've created here. Maybe I'm just deciding today it's going to start, but from now on, if you want to be on this team, think about those three things. Coming in with the attitude, working together as a team, and excellence. Think about it tonight. And if you want to come back and live that every day with me, I'd love to have you.
And then she said, yeah, I want that.
And then you have to hold them accountable to doing it, right? And when they don't, hey, right. I understand you want that, and you're not. Yeah. So it's not going to work out.
You're wanting it, but you're not doing it, right?
Yeah. Right. Oh, but it was hard, right? And it was a very to have someone to guide you through it, like a guided meditation, right? Like, you've ever tried to meditate on your own and you can't get there. Right. You put on the tape and it's a guided meditation. Before you know it, you're through it. And that's what Eileen was during this process. I mean, it wasn't 15 minutes. It was more like 6 months, but yeah, she was my guided meditation.
I love it. It's a great analogy, Anastasia, actually. It's a really good analogy. And we're going to round around, but I want to just let Traci introduce her connection. So Traci and Anastasia, you both joined Eileen and Jennifer and myself in the Gara and 23 other women and men at our Power Talk Friday for multiple $1 million firms in High Point in 2022. 22, right?
Yeah.
In 22. And so you two ladies joined us, and that's where you both had the opportunity to meet Jennifer. And it's from that event, Traci, that you decided to take the plunge and start to work with Eileen and Jennifer as a team. So tell us what drove you and what your thing is, and then we'll talk around the different things that happen with problems and how you do this stuff in the weeds.
Yeah, so I guess the way I was feeling, I was at the end of my rope. So having a larger firm, there is some influx. I've got, a couple of employees that have been with me 12, 13 years, but the designer role seems to, in one that was there 8 years, but I wasn't, for some of these intermediate and junior roles, I just wasn't getting it right. So a few years before that, I hired a recruiting firm just for interior designers, and I got burned. I felt like it was unethical what they did because they were using scare tactics to get me to raise the salary that I was putting out there. And you better get out there and just put out the highest price you can because someone's talking bad about your firm. And I realized, oh my gosh, they just wanted to get this over with and close the deal. So I learned. So I shied away from this. I'm like, I'm going to do this on my own. And so when I sat down and talked to Eileen at Power Talk Friday, I said, I think I might need more help. And at that time, she was rolling out her hiring toolkit. And I was like, all right, I like to push systems and processes and automation. I am going for this. And so we had some Zooms back and forth. And the one thing she said to me was, Traci, every job description for, say, a senior level designer doesn't have to be the same. You gear it to what you need right now. And I was trying so hard to find a very creative interior designer. And she said, well, let's talk about that. And that was kind of like a light bulb moment to me because I switched the job description. So then we did that. And then I came back to her and I'm like, hey, I need help doing this now. I just can't. Running both the businesses and just being busy. She said, I want you to talk to Jennifer. So Jennifer was my partner. Jennifer, how long have we been working together? For months.
Yeah.
Yeah, about a year. Yeah. So she led my hiring process. And what was so great about what they do, yes, they do the predictive index, which is amazing. And what's really cool about that is, do I go into each person's personality and their index and look and see what they're great at and their weaknesses? No. That's not me. Just give me the highlights. Is this person going to work? No, etc. So that's what they did. But another great benefit was they interviewed for me.
Right.
And then sent me the Zoom. And if I'm like, oh, I just can't listen to this just,
Right.
I'm like, I'm out. But I could see the personality. I could see the energy.
Yeah.
And that was really a really key play in all of this to help me really, outsource this job that can be completely overwhelming.
Yeah. Yeah. So a couple of the takeaways there. I just have to say, this is the kind of thing. This is why I love talking with seasoned business owners, because I don't know if you guys caught it in there. And I mean, you who I'm looking at and you, the audience that's listening to us. There was a moment when Traci was describing the hiring process that she had been going through. And she said, I just wasn't getting it right. And you know what that is? That's a person who takes accountability. She wasn't like, and this person and every person that came to me was wrong. It's like she's, and this is like the tiny little offshoot that I notice whenever I talk with successful people with years in business. They understand that in this particular microcosm, there's a way to hire good people. I'm not getting it right. Like, it's not like the world has no good people. The whole world out there has nobody. It's like, and she takes it back and says, what am I not doing right about this process? And so I love, love, love that. And I don't ever want that to ever go by, because I notice that, like, when I do interviews, if somebody's interested in chairman of the board, like, this is a cheat sheet right here, guys. Like, if I ask you, what do you think is wrong in your business? And it doesn't start with my this or my I'm that, like, yeah, I'm done. I'm out. Like, it's like, oh, you're a yeah, but girl. Okay, never mind. See you, bye. Like, the whole world doesn't, blah, blah, blah. Nope. Right. Okay. So the thing is, talk about, so Anastasia, you mentioned, that particular twist of, and I don't actually know the end of the story. Like, I know we've spoken to each other 1,000 times, and I know it ended well, and that you went right to 3 million. You're sailing past it. Like, all the things happen, but I don't actually know. Did that one person that you were really close to, did she work out, or did you have a transition period? Because that's a hard thing. So as a business owner, this is not just somebody that's with you a minute. And it's not somebody who doesn't think they're going to stay with you. That part I remember. So is she ultimately with you, or did she go?
No, Eileen really helped me to see what I needed. I didn't know what I needed. I just didn't know what seats. I knew the tasks, but I didn't know what seats. So once we did that predictive index and we really started to look at the different people that I did have, we found that there was not a seat. That seat wasn't available any longer on my train, and we had to split our separate ways. We just had to go in a different way, and it wasn't fun, but it was the right decision for both of us.
Right.
She's doing exactly what she wanted. I'm doing exactly what I wanted, and it's good. And it's taken me into a very different place with all the current employees I have. Completely different, because I interview different. I look at them differently. I ask different questions. I predictive index them before they're hired.
Right. Right. I love it. Yeah, it makes a tremendous difference. And Jennifer, tell us a little bit about the experience of working with Traci and the pain points that she's coming from, working with these big recruiting type headhunter things, and helping her get focused and success. And you've a year working together, so I'm sure there's a story or two. And I know this woman. I know she's just like Anastasia. No, that's not what I mean. Oh, okay, sweet.
Yeah. So from the very beginning, Traci was really upfront about the challenges she had with the other search firms. And I think right away I described how we do it differently. And I think I took the time to explain kind of the steps we take and how much more thorough and hands-on we are, and the different techniques we use versus these search firms that are just mining people and then throwing them over the fence. Right? And a little bit. It's a little bit of a numbers game
resume
sometimes,
with job description,
right? And then they're paid off of a percentage of salary. So they have, typically, so there's a different relationship that creates. And so we did first talk about the needs of the position, because we always start there. Is that the right role? We didn't do the team optimization work that Eileen was describing with Anastasia, but in a way, I was asking her a lot of those questions about where does this role fit in, what's going on in the business. And because Traci had these two businesses and she really needed to be able to delegate some leadership so that she can have some bandwidth to do more, and rule the world. Yeah, we had a lot of
To fill it up
conversation
again.
around the level of the position and what was needed for this kind of senior lead designer type role. And it's true that it was interesting because we had one hire initially and we pretty much struck gold pretty quickly. And sometimes that happens. You do the work. We have a real clear job description. The definition of success is very clear. We had a very compelling job posting. Traci puts a lot of attention into what employees can have and how they can be developed when they're with her. And so there was a lot to be able to share with candidates that's really meaningful in working with her. And we just so happened to come across someone that just checked off a lot of boxes. And we filled that position, because I tracked the time to fill, in 53 days, which is pretty good. It's really good.
Wow.
And she's still with Traci and doing really, really great.
Yeah.
Now, then there became a need to hire a second one. And this is how it happens sometimes. We didn't strike gold right away. I mean, we had a lot of candidates. We talked to a lot of people. So it was a bit of a mix between, are we finding the right people even on the sourcing side? So we were tweaking a lot about how we were trying to source candidates, what's working, what's not. So having a lot of discussions about that. And then also who we were screening in. So there were times in the second search when Traci would say, "Oh no." And I was actually encouraging her to screen more in versus out at that point, because sometimes the resume or even that initial first impression on a Zoom isn't going to necessarily tell you the whole story. So, I was saying, hey, when we're in this spot where it's getting a little bit more challenging, err on screening in versus screening out. And she ended up needing to interview quite a few people in that second round. So there's more, but I would say that out of the gates, that was some of the situation that we were facing.
What happened with that, at the end, there were very strong intermediates that came through. And what I ended up doing was changing my business model for employees, my org chart, and let go a junior designer who shouldn't have been there, that stayed too long, and replacing her with two intermediates and a lead designer. So through that, we found some other great candidates. So I think being open-minded to what happens.
Yeah. I'll add
really
to that, because part of
the
the conversation over time, and this is what a search firm doesn't do, but we do as consultants, is continually discussing what's working on the team, what's not, using the predictive index to assess everyone on the team, having those conversations about what's working, what's not, talking about what's negotiable versus not negotiable in the current team and also in a new hire. And we did. So again, playing around with how we were sourcing candidates, we ended up still looking for that lead designer, but also putting out postings to source some intermediates, because some of the advice I've been giving people I work with is train people. Find that amazing talent and develop them. Because when you're looking for these lead designers with 10 years of experience that have the creativity, have skill sets beyond belief, and know how to lead and manage people, the funnel of applicants gets smaller and smaller and smaller, so you have to kind of open up the aperture and consider more potential talent.
Yeah. I think too, I've learned from all the years working with Eileen, one of the things you guys said in there was, when you were saying, screen in as opposed to screen out. And I had mentioned to you guys the analogy of trying on the dress, right? And that's what I always feel like was a big learning lesson with working with Eileen's team, you, Jennifer, and Eileen, is once you see that interview and you see that resume and you see that PI, and maybe you're going to give a, to, I've learned that if your level of expertise in this has taken 200 people down to 10 interviews and 200 resumes down to 10 that you interview, down to 3 you're presenting me, I probably should just actually have the conversation with all 3 of them, regardless of what I see in the Zoom. Because I've watched the Zoom and went, this is not my person. And then I just say, you know what? It's like my mom used to say, just put the dress on, Luann. Go in the dressing room and put the dress on. And then you come out and you're like, yeah, this is the one Mom thinks. Right? It's like, you can't tell on the hanger. You can't tell on the hanger. So anyway, I just think that's so true. So what I would love to do is I want you each, Anastasia and Traci, to talk to us. Listen, we just finished Luann Live. We were all there with the exception of Jennifer, who was too busy in Hawaii. But I mean, I guess we'll have to forgive her for her family vacation. But we were all just in Luann Live in 2023 in Orlando, the other 4 of us. And one of the things that I got from the feedback forms was, great content, love it, love it, love it. And then it was like, what would you like to see in the future? And it was information on hiring and team building. Mm-hmm. And so I understand it's very difficult to answer these questions without the lens of, isn't Eileen and Jennifer amazing? This is what they did for us. And I love it. And I'm not opposed to it, obviously, right? But I just think about the person who put on the form. I want to know about hiring and team management. And we know the first answer is go hire Jennifer and Eileen, do it the right way. But second answer, you're sitting at the table with them, some things that you've learned from the process of doing it with them, some before and after reflections on taking what they've taught you. I understand, but just what would you tell that person that's struggling with this? So who wants to go first on that?
I'll go.
Good. Anastasia.
I think one of the things, sometimes we lose a very good candidate during the interview. Sometimes you see the right one. I don't know about you, Traci, but I've lost a few, right? I feel like they just slipped right through my net. Maybe I didn't interview them fast enough. Maybe I didn't say something at the interview that engaged them enough to hold me as one of the 2 options. And that's a little depressing sometimes because you think tough, you finally right? You hooked one and then they go. But one of the things is really you're interviewing them, but let them interview you is a really important aspect. Let them look at you and ask you questions about your firm, about your culture, about your mission, vision, and values. How did you get to where you are? And we ask them to ask us questions like that, to come prepared to a second interview with questions like that, so that they can then become excited about wanting to work for us. Because let's face it, a job is a job. You still have to get up every morning and go to work. You just have to love where you go and who you're working for. So when we do that interview, we like to tell them about benefits we have. I tell them about how I onboard and the onboarding process that we have, about how I engage with every employee at least once a month personally with coffee time. So we talk about how I can nurture them throughout their experience at the firm, so that maybe if I'm not as competitive as somebody else who's been wound up by a recruiter throwing large dollars at them, and maybe they have a terrible culture, but maybe I offer a few dollars less, but I have a wonderful culture. So it's an interview both ways. And that's one of the things I would tell new business owners is, you're not just interviewing them, they're interviewing you. So look at yourself, make sure you show up and you're present at the interview. Don't be looking at your cell phone. Don't be busy doing other things. Focus on them. Maybe it's over a meal if it's a really important interview. Talk about life.
I love that. I love that.
And
Traci, before you answer, I just want to ask Eileen to comment on that a little bit, because your research, your work, your body of work, your experience proves that it isn't always the dollar bill. It's what else is coming along. So tell us a little bit about
Anastasia,
that.
I got to just applaud you, because that was just beautiful what you said and what you offer, because people are looking for meaning and purpose and connection in life. And it sounds like everything that you mentioned is that you're offering that. I'm going to meet with you personally. I'm committed to you. I'm going to develop you. This is what our culture is like. Talking about what your values are and what they can expect when they come is so beautiful. So I would just encourage, for everyone out there that's looking to hire, is really think about who you are, what's unique and wonderful about you and your firm, and communicating that to your applicants, and also connecting to them personally. Right. And not just in the interview, but also afterwards, the opportunity to meet one-on-one. I mean, one of my greatest and things I talk about all the time is having one-on-one meetings, letting people know they matter, letting people know you care, listening to them, developing them. That's the secret. That's the kind of companies that people want to work for. I had uh, a supervisor I'll always remember early on in my career, and he took the time every quarter to talk about what he's going to work with me on this quarter to help me develop and grow. I've never seen that anywhere else, right, in all my 25 years, until I started to come to firms, high performing firms, and they're doing that model. And when you work for someone, because I had the opportunity to work for someone that offered that to me, you never want to leave. It's so amazing. It's like someone wants to talk to me every week, every month. Someone's caring about me developing and growing. It is gold. If you tell your applicants that and you have to do it, right? You have to follow up and do it. But if you do, they'll just be like, how can I sign up?
Right. I love it. It's a good piece of advice, Anastasia. Traci, you talk to newer designers all the time in the gloss, and how you coach and teach them. And so when you thinking about what you would like to say about active things that you've done, or that you've either learned through Jennifer or on your own, like what is a challenge and how you want to help somebody solve it?
Yeah, what Anastasia said is absolutely 100% accurate, and I follow the same process. One of the tweaks that I've made is in the job description is listing the growth path. So just in corporate, they know, okay, well, if I do this, then I'm going to be promoted to this level. And then when you're thinking about a firm and you're hiring for a senior level position, they're like, well, the only thing I can do is just be the principal of the firm. And so I really talk about the same, like, what is their growth plan? So if this person is knockout, then after a senior role, they can be, a design director and go over, because I'm willing at this point in my career to give that responsibility. So I do want them to know that there are opportunities just past this one level. Then I go into bonuses that the senior level gets, etc. So it is talking about those different incentives. But I go back to the fact I just interviewed and hired an office manager / executive assistant. And through that process, it was, I just want to be in a place I'm happy. I just want to come to the same thing. It really wasn't the money. I just want to be happy. And when you think about that, I have to say, though, there was one gal who would have fit in beautifully with my design team. I mean, so the other thing is I take all the candidates around, they meet everybody, they see the office. That's another kind of perk of how we work. And, me, I'll throw in some rude humor or something. And, so we were back in the office with the team, and she was like, oh, I like your coat. I could tell she'd be one of them. Right. And then we went in the resource room, and she truly wants to be a designer. And she was like, oh, the wallpaper book she's looking through. And even though I thought, okay, she'd be a great cultural fit for my design team, this role was more for me. And so I had to just take the emotion out of it. And I think a lot of firm owners, they hire out of emotion. I love the way, they're trendy, or I like their personality. We really do need to slow down. Oh my gosh. And really look at all the processes and systems and things that you use to determine whether this candidate is going to be right. That's predictive index, but there's so many things. Sometimes I feel like working with the younger designers, they will put all that aside. They're not going to go through the process. And so if we can provide that, and the one thing that I know a lot of your listeners may be thinking also, we talked about this, I can't afford to hire. I can't afford to hire. And that stops them. And so I've done a couple of classes on this. I'm like, you guys, this is a revenue generating activity to hire somebody, especially if you are charging by the hour. If that person is 80% of the time they're billing, think about this, 20, they're not. You're not, if you're paying them $40 an hour, you're billing them at your rate, say $200. You are making money on this person, whether it's part-time, full-time, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like just taking the risk, right? Just taking the risk. It's reframing the idea of risk, but I feel like you've got to just go for it. It's calculated.
Wow.
But flipping our mindset on that, I think, makes a big difference.
So I love all of this, Trace. I love the learning lessons in here, the observations, the self-awareness that you've gotten as you've gone through this process. And Jennifer, talk a little bit about, we kind of went over it, but like I heard it there. It's like this woman was amazing and she fit. But what Traci didn't elaborate on, but what I heard in the between the lines was, if I were hiring a design assistant, not my EA, not my office manager, and maybe this girl's going to come in every day wanting to look at pretty fabrics and wallpapers, and I've got her knee deep in my emails, right? So talk a little bit about that, because that's human nature, what Traci said.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm really glad
this
is a really great example that comes up, because there's a multifaceted way to really assess fit, right? So knowing if they have the right experience and skills for that job, knowing that their motivation is a fit for that job, knowing that they have the behavioral makeup for that job, which is where predictive index comes into play. All of that are techniques to make sure to factor into the hiring process, and also the culture and the values and that alignment, right? That they would really see some meaning. And sometimes if people aren't paying attention like Traci was to all those other elements, the instinct is going to be, wow, I like this person. It's this likability factor. And, they fit with my team, but I'm only looking at how they're going to fit with the team. So 100%, that was a great judgment call, Traci, because it's all about what does the job need? And is it a fit for the job? Hiring someone that wants to do design in an admin job is setting them up for some really strong disappointment. Yeah,
frustration, right? All the way around. Them thinking,
exactly.
when am I going to get to play with the fabrics? Like never.
Never.
Right.
And then it creates this whole have fun.
dynamic later if you end up hiring someone like that. For me, the opportunity to hire anyone is a tremendous privilege. And if leaders can look at it like it's a tremendous privilege, it is an honor to be able to find someone that you can create this magnificent experience for, and that also is contributing to your business. I mean, it can be really beautiful. And approaching it that way, that this is a relationship and this is a long-term relationship. So Anastasia, the things you were talking about, like they need to interview you as well. They need to know that they think there's a fit. And then, and if they're not asking the right questions, be aware of that too.
Right.
Because maybe they don't have the self-awareness about their own needs and their own goals. So you may need to prompt them so you can help them even know, is this the right fit for you? Right. Some people are really clear on that for themselves and other people aren't. Right. And that it's good to, have some heads up.
Right. Love that. I love that. I love that. I love that. In a way, I feel like that's a nice bow on a lot of this conversation. And I just want to give the opportunity to Eileen and Anastasia and Traci to put their little bow and their thoughts on this conversation. So Eileen, you want to go first?
Sure. I want to provide a few tools for people right now when they're thinking about their hiring that we haven't mentioned yet too. So one of them to help you hire more effectively is to have the clear job description. The other is to have a really clear selection process that would include a structured interview where you're asking questions based on what skills they need to do the job, how they're going to perform the job, also what kind of, culture and opportunity that they're looking for. So it's really important to take the time to have that. And people don't always take the time to write the job description, to write down the questions based on what do I need to know to find out if they have these skills and these fit. And then the third piece is doing it some type of assessment. To me, assessment is gold. When people say, if the bottom line of finding out if someone can really do this job is having them do some kind of job tryout in front of you. Someone can say they're an amazing, I've had this happen. People said, Eileen, I really want to hire this person from this great firm that's, worked in New York City or Chicago or whatever. And they've worked for them for 10 years and they're at this level. And I'm just grateful they're even willing to work for me. And I'll say, and I want you to, did you interview them? Well, yeah, but kind of still happy, feeling lucky to work for, they'll work for me. And I said, did you give them an assessment? Well, how could I ask them for an assessment? They've been doing this work for years. Or they'll show me the portfolio of work that their team has done. It's not them. And I'll say, please do an assessment with them. Ask them to do some type of activity that you're going to want them to do when they start tomorrow, whatever that is. Whether it's come up with some creative designs, whether it's do a mood board, whether it's do drawings, whatever, CAD work, have them do an activity. And the designer didn't do that, hired the person and was like, whoa, what did this person do there? Mm-hmm. And what piece of this portfolio is you? What part of you? So honestly, if you have someone do an assessment, and even if it's your admin, give your admin a task to do that you're going to give them when they start on Monday to see if they can do it. Even if it's go into my computer, answer these emails, create this spreadsheet, create this, project plan, whatever that is, have them do some kind of task. If it's you want them to talk to people, one of the things I love designers to do is to actually, you give them an assignment that you're going to give them when they start, which is you have this client, they have this room. We just let's make it simple. It's one room. This is who they are. This is what they want. I want you to sketch something up, and I want you to present. Because at certain levels, they have to present. So for you to see their thinking and logic of what they took from the customer that you told them to what they created to how they present it and interact. And how they interact with you, hopefully as a client saying, oh, and I designed it this way. And I thought about this element. And I didn't just pick one sofa. I looked at 500 sofas before I picked this one. And this is why. Yeah. That is gold. So for all of you out there, Jennifer and I's goal is really for you all to feel like you can do this on your own. We want to give you tools and systems and coach you once so that you can go out and do it 100 times on your own. And many of our clients will say that they now feel confident after working with Jennifer for a round or two. It's like, I feel confident now in hiring anyone because I have the tools. I have like you were saying, the hiring toolkit. I have these, what assessment to do. I have a good, clear job description as a sample. I can do it on my own. And that's what we want for you.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And how about you ladies? How do you want to tie this up with words of advice, encouragement, wisdom for your colleagues that are struggling in this area?
I can, because it's kind of springboard off of Eileen. So I do the assessment. That's what I was going to say as well. So take the emotion out, have them do an assessment. Some people are offended. That means they're not a good fit. Right. But what I do, it's the same. They need to do space plans. They need to do elevations. They need to curate product. That way I can see what their taste level is. Do they know the typical product that we order? They have to present. And it's all based on the deliverables I would like for them to do at our firm. And it starts with a story. How do they get inspiration? They make up a story about the couple in the space. But then what I do, if I know right now I need a position filled that's heavy on construction knowledge, I will take their beautiful plan and I'll ask them, how did you know where to put the height of the faucet, the plumbing, the shower faucet? How do you tell me what standard? And I start digging into it and just asking questions, and it just gives me the knowledge, because we know if we get someone in that's unqualified for the position, it's extremely expensive to let them go into go through this interview process now and on board again.
It's interesting because it's so funny that you said that you've run into people, and probably Anastasia you have as well, and the two of you in other firms that you've worked with, that people are offended that they have to do an assessment. Like, what do we do in this world that we don't have to, that's like, you don't get on the Yankees without trying out. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on. Like, like seriously, like, That's like, oh, we're going to have presidential debates. I mean, we're going to have presidential elections, but no debates. We're not going to assess you at any point. We're just going to put your names up there. We're all just going to throw a dart. Like literally, like we all get assessed before we get invited to do almost anything in this life, right? So as a work product anyway. So anyway, I mean, if you're listening, if you've ever been offended, get your head screwed on straight. I'm just saying. Like, legit. Okay. Anastasia, how do you want to wrap this up?
I could say that you've hired them, right? That's the wrap up. You've hired them. You feel like you've landed at the journey point. Now, how do you keep them engaged? How do you ensure they're the right person for the seat? Because there's still a trial period. And we developed what we call 30, 60, 90-day plan. So every week there are several tasks that each new employee has to do. They have to sit with different people on the team, whether it has anything to do with the job they're going to be doing. They have to sit with that person. So I have a licensed architect on my team as well. So if I hire a new interior designer, she's sitting with the architect and doing certain tasks. She's going to sit with my procurement specialist. She's going to sit with my operations manager. You know, whoever that designer is, for the first 30 days, we're talking about basic stuff. And then they get an interview at the end of the 30 days. And it's a feedback. How do you feel you're being supported? How am I supporting you? Do you think we could go faster? Do you think we need to go slower? What are your goals? And then we do that again at 60 and again at 90, confirming that they're the right employee. I just had an experience where she lasted 6 weeks. You know, we got to that 30-day, we got to 45 days. It was pretty obvious. I did the 60-day at a 45-day period. And, you know, just through the questions and the actions that we were going through, we realized we weren't the right fit. Yeah. So much of a gift, because you get to walk away after 45 days as opposed to holding on for a year.
Absolutely. I mean, I have to just say, Jennifer and Eileen, are you like, grasshopper, you've learned so well?
100%. And I was even just going to say, I mean, hiring, even with all the best techniques and processes and structure, you still sometimes might not get it right. And so everything you're talking,
humans are
exactly. So that, Anastasia, you're talking about, and just that continual nurturing of how this relationship is going, and is it the right fit? That can happen. I mean, I've worked in-house in companies, and also as this consultant, you know, role that I have, and I've seen it where companies have like a really strong day one orientation where they're very clear about expectations and what it's going to be like to work there. And no joke, I've known people who tap out on that first day. They all of a sudden realize, like, oh my God, they mean business. Like, I'm out, you know, but hey, better that they're out on day one, you know, than later.
Yeah. Yep.
That's so funny.
And just to say, the onboarding process is critical, right? We have to say that as kind of our bow too, right? Because it's not just about getting the hire. If you don't onboard, you know, with love, with structure, with regular meetings, Anastasia, I love it. The 30, 60, 90 days, what you're going to accomplish, who you're going to interact with, what results we expect, and how are you doing? How are you feeling? How are we giving you what we need? Yeah. I mean, that is.
And if I could add one more thing, we talked about the predictive index, which often, you know, is such a key platform for hiring. It's tremendously beneficial in the onboarding and the ongoing relationship and developing people, because you have a roadmap of what someone is saying to you. Here are my strengths. Here are my motivating needs. Here's my style. And by the way, it's kind of a cheat sheet for you on how to manage me. And if you can adapt your style to manage to my style and my needs, you're going to get the most out of me and probably have me around for a long time.
Yes. Yeah. And you know what I love about that is because as strong leaders, we do need to do that, right? There's some people that will say, oh, they have to adapt to me. You know, like to me, that's like you have 3 different kids. You know, they're all different. You're not going to only feed one because that one thinks and walks and talks like you and the other 2 are different. So they're out, right? Like you want them all to be successful humans. And it's the same with your employees. Like they're definitely my big learning lesson was, back 100 years ago, literally in the 80s, learning that when I was hiring, much like you were talking about, Traci, when I was hiring an office administrator, I was, as a young person in my 20s, looking for the person who I jived with, but that was a salesperson. Like, stop. Like, that person is not wanting to push numbers and make appointments and do all the things. And so, especially the learning lesson came for me. The aha was, oh, I need a different personality type for a different type of job, that looking for the success of the person who will thrive in that. But then the next layer was, oh, I have to talk to that person differently. Like, oh, I have to talk slower when I'm talking to my admins because their brain doesn't go at the speed of sound like yours. You know what I mean? It's like they hear something. I can't tell you, Eileen, how many times have you said to me, Luann, you need to explain what you want. Give them a chance to process it. Give them a chance, come back the next day to discuss it. I'm like, really? Like, we have to do this over 24 hours? Like, can I just walk in? Here's something. No, Luann, this is a high D and a high C. This person needs to think, needs to problem. So that's your next layer as a leader, is really, really, to your point, Jennifer, understanding your people and knowing from the beginning of this process that you've put them in those seats because of those skill sets, but then to work in those skill sets and then to help them flourish and be their best in those skill sets, even though it's not your skill set. Right. So yeah, it's so funny because I literally have, I'm not running Window Works any longer, but I have a lot of interaction with them. And it's almost like if you could just see it, it's like, okay, different persona. I talk slower. I walk slower. I sit down. I look in their eyes. Hey, how are you today? You know what I mean? And other people, I'm just like, so did we get this thing done? And they're like, yeah, let's go. But like, I know who now, how was your weekend? In my brain, I'm like, I don't care. Can I just get the spreadsheet out of you? But I understand.
You got it. That's it.
It's it. You want people to be successful. And as the leader, it's your job to ensure that. And so you guys are awesome. You guys are so amazing. I appreciate all of you so much. I love the journeys that each of you women have been on with these two other lovely ladies. And thank you so much for sharing your wisdom today.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks
Thanks,
for having
Lou.
us. Thanks.
So I hope that you enjoyed this, and I want to just make a note. Did you notice the accountability and self-awareness from each of these ladies? This is an attribute of a quality business owner. And think about it. Anastasia didn't have the right team members, and it took her a hot second because, she's from Jersey, okay? But after a conversation with Eileen, she could see that the problems in her business were rooted in her team, right? You can have the right people, but maybe they're in the wrong seats, or maybe you have the wrong people. Now, here's the thing. The people aren't wrong. They themselves are not wrong. They are 100% valuable, and they are likely dedicated as well as talented and smart. But when you are working in the wrong position or in the wrong company culture, it just won't work, no matter how hard you try. And you know what it kind of reminds me of? It kind of reminds me of like when you can have like that deep admiration and respect for like your brother or your sister-in-law, like your brother-in-law or your sister-in-law, right? Or maybe a dear friend's partner or spouse. And you really do. You look at the person and sometimes they're talking and you just think, God, I love this person. I admire him. I'm so lucky, to be in this family and this person is here. But then you think, married to him? Not a chance. Not a right fit for me, right? So everyone has a place where they are meant to be. And if it's not with you, set them free so they can find their spot, their place in the world, right? Okay, now, with Traci, she had a good hiring process. She didn't feel that she needed to necessarily change her hiring process, but after meeting Jennifer at one of our Power Talk Friday tours, the one-day coaching tours that we do, she decided that maybe she'd have better results if she hired Jennifer to make her next hires. And she was right, by the way. You heard Traci mention how much better working with Jennifer it was than working with the previous recruiters. Because in hiring Jennifer, she not only was getting better results, but she learned more about an exceptional process for hiring. She learned how to take that back to her business, right? This is what happens when you work with experts. Right? It's so funny because in my 4+ decades of business, I've hired a ton of people. But think about Jennifer and Eileen. They do this as a life passion. How many hires have they been through? How many times have they guided and a business owner and a potential employee through the process? And each time you go through it, you learn more. So, and when you combine that with the mission and passion that Eileen and Jennifer have to really helping every single person. This is Eileen's mission, help every single person that she can to be working in the job they were born for. She wrote a book called The Job You Were Born For, 7 Steps to Align Your Work with Your Life Mission. All right, she lives it, walks it, I'm telling you. Now, let's review some of the tips that these 4 ladies shared. If something is off with your team, sometimes you need to step back and revisit your goals and your vision. Then consider the roles needed to execute those goals and what kind of skills your team members need to fit into that, right? Next, writing a clear job description, right? You have to have a clear job description before you start this process. It's like, going on a trip and you don't have you don't know where you're going. You don't have a map. It's like I'm just getting in the car, right? So the job description is where you're going. Then you need a job posting that's aligned with the attributes for success in that job description. Then you need a proven interview process, not just spaghetti at the wall, conversation over a cup of coffee. Whatever we talk about, whatever comes up, I'll probably figure it out while I'm doing it. Ixnay on that. All right. All 4 ladies stress the importance of the actual interview. All right. And Eileen talked about it. It's important to connect during the interview, right? People look for that. They're looking for that next level of how can I fit into a company? What is it going to feel like? What is that kind of extra value there, right? You've heard it before. Relationships are at the heart of everything we do. Eileen continues on saying, let them interview you too, right? They will get excited because you are allowing them to understand your mission and your passion and where you came from and who you are and what your vision for your company is. I've had this exact experience at WindowWorks where a particular person interviewing for a job said to me on the second interview, I just love that you guys are all so focused on your mission here. It feels great. Can you imagine, right? So if you communicate who you are and what your firm means to you, this will promote a connection to the kind of people that are looking for this as well. High-performing firms use this model because it results in a happy team and happy people who want to stay with you for a long time. Traci follows the same process and also makes sure to ask about their growth plan and let them know that there's growth potential in her company. As Jennifer said, to be able to hire someone and find your fit is a tremendous privilege to contribute to your business, right? And while it can be trial and error, no matter how seasoned we are all here to support you in this. All right, that's from Jennifer. If you are in this position right now with hiring, of course, you can work with professionals like Eileen and Jennifer to establish the roles you need and hire the right people for them. You can also visit luannigara.com and go to our shop tab. You can also go to luannigara.com/shop and get right there. And you will have access to the new affordable hiring toolkits designed by Eileen based on her 30 years of experience and the more than 50 design firms that she and Jennifer have worked with. So whether you're hiring a junior designer, a project manager, a bookkeeper, a senior designer, it's all there. Each toolkit is specific to the role you are looking to fill, it includes the job description, the job posting, the interview guide, the phone interview, and the assessment steps that Eileen recommends when you go through this process. All right? So resources there for you. Love it. We also have the collection on the website. If you go to podcasts and go to collections, we have the hiring and team management collection for more information on this topic, to hear from more of your peers on the successes and the things that they've done to cultivate and hire a successful team. All right. Thank you so much for joining me. I do appreciate that you show up, decide to be excellent. Thank you for joining me today. This podcast is a production of Luann Nigara, Inc. If you want to know more about me, my books, or Luann University, go to luannnigara.com. And if you are interested in having WindowWorks help you with your next window treatment or awning project in the New York, New Jersey metro area, go to windowworksnj.com to learn more. Have an excellent day.